You see them, Cheryl?
I do see them. There they are.
It's our friends watching today all day. We are so happy that you're here. It's Thursday, or as I like to call it, Friday Eve.
I'll take that today. Of course, Craig, it's the second best day of the week, and you at home are tuning into our digital show. Today in 30, a half hour of everything you need to catch up on our morning show.
Once again, though, we're going to start with the chaos in Afghanistan, where warnings of a potential terror attack have brought emergency evacuations there to a grinding halt. So what does it all mean for the frantic race to get them out before the deadline, now just 5 days away? We'll have a full report on that.
Then the alarming spike in COVID hospitalizations among pregnant women. We explored the risks and addressed the concerns some women are raising about the vaccine.
And then we're going to switch gears a bit because the hilarious Molly Shannon is joining us to talk about her new project.
Plus, how the simple gesture of saying thank you changed one woman's life forever. And we thank you for being here. It's time for
Today in 30.
Breaking news from Afghanistan. An explosion at the Kabul airport where thousands of people are still attempting to evacuate the country. The Pentagon confirms the blast. No word yet on injuries. The blast coming just hours after a security alert from the U.S. State Department warning an attack could be imminent and telling Americans to stay away from the airport. Let's bring in NBC's Courtney Kuby. She's at the Pentagon. Courtney, what can you tell us?
So we have very little details about what actually happened on the ground, other than there was at least one explosion. Now, it's centered around the Abbey Gate. That's on the southeast side of the Kabul airport. And this is an area that, before the Taliban took over a little over a week ago, there was a very western area. There's a well-known hotel right nearby. It's within walking distance of that gate, called the Baron Hotel. Americans have been gathering there in the past several days to try to make their way into the airport through that Abbey Gate. What we're trying to find out from U.S. military and defense sources and officials right now is, were there any casualties? In addition to the people who have been going through the gates in recent days, there also have been large crowds gathering outside of those gates, and particularly at the Abbey Gate. And many of those are Afghans, people who are trying to get on those evacuation flights and get out of that country. In addition to the civilians on the outside of the gate, though, Chanel, there are U.S. military personnel who've been on the inside of that gate. They've been checking in people, trying to get through. They've been securing that area and that perimeter. And there also have been U.S. State Department consular officials who are helping with names, helping the military know who it is that can enter through that gate. Again, what we're trying to find out is the extent of any casualties with this explosion or explosions, who would the casualties were, and was the perimeter breached in this explosion. One of the big concerns in recent days is an attack by ISIS, and this was one of the scenarios that U.S. officials were very concerned about. In these crowds, they were worried that ISIS would be able to infiltrate in, potentially with a suicide bomber, a vehicle-borne explosive device that would not only kill potentially scores of people there, but could potentially breach the airport perimeter and open it up for additional people to get through, Chanel.
This is such a scary time for families there and here in the States. Courtney, thank you so much. Let's go to NBC's Richard Engel, who was in Kabul yesterday and spoke face-to-face with a top Taliban official, and he's in Doha now and joins us by phone. Richard, what can you tell us?
So I was at that airport this morning. I'm hearing similar reports to Courtney that it was by the Baron Hotel, that there may have been a bomb in a sewage drain, that there may have been casualties, still unconfirmed reports of who those casualties were. The Baron Hotel and the area around it is an area where Afghans, some of them with special visas, some of them Afghan Americans, some VIPs have been gathering because it is very close to the airport. So it was considered a safe area where people could go, they could muster, and then get shuttled into the airport. That area is primarily British and American forces. But no word on casualties. Yes, there has been some sort of explosion. The Taliban are in control of the something that they had been trying to prevent, something that the U.S. had been warning would happen. Will it slow down the evacuation is a major question. I think that's going to depend on the casualties and if there are any casualties to American personnel or to people who need to be medevaced from the scene.
Richard, that's exactly what I was going to ask you. What happens next? I mean, and also, can you put this into perspective for people who are watching? You've been there on the ground. It is such a tense time for the families there and here waiting for the relatives to come.
It is the clock is ticking down, and that is a cliche, but right now it is true, because while Tuesday may be the deadline, the U.S. and the Taliban are really trying to limit the number of people flooding in, because every new person who comes on the base is another person that they have to evacuate. They also have to evacuate themselves. When I was on the base this morning, I saw streams and streams of Afghans walking in single file lines heading toward not American aircraft only, but aircraft from Sweden, Australia, Great Britain, New Zealand, all over the world are taking off and landing at that airfield. Qatar, of course. Qatar's evacuated about 40,000. And the Taliban wants this to continue, and they don't want attacks to happen, which seems to have happened just now with this bombing by the Baron, or this explosion by the Baron Hotel, by that gate.
Such a tense time, so much anxiety. Richard Engel there on the ground. Thank you, Richard. Let's go to NBC's Kelly O'Donnell, who's at the White House, where the president is monitoring the situation. Kelly, what are you hearing?
Well, officials tell me the president is right now in the Situation Room with his national security team. I can also tell you that the Pentagon spokesman says that the Kabul airport blast has resulted in an unknown number of casualties. They'll continue to update us. It's important to look at this warning about what has transpired today. The U.S. and partners have been saying there was a stream of intelligence that they deemed very credible, now borne out by events, of the potential for a terror attack. That was influencing the president's decision-making on the timeline for the evacuations and withdrawal, wanting to get out by August 31st, in part to not have any difficulty in breakdown of communication with the Taliban, but also concerned about the amount of time on the ground being a greater risk for any kind of a terror strike. We don't know what group is behind this yet, or the scope of what has happened with today's blast. At the same time, the president, who has been briefed on contingency plans, had said that this could be an issue where it would extend the U.S. presence if evacuations were interrupted by something like a blast at the airport. Chanel?
All right, Kelly O'Donnell in Washington. Thank you, Kelly. Meantime, we're getting a closer look at what those evacuees are facing on their journey out of Afghanistan. We're also hearing from a top Taliban leader. NBC's chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel, spoke to him in a television exclusive. Richard is in Doha for us. Richard, good morning.
Good morning. We've just arrived in Doha, Qatar from Kabul. This country is one of the main transit hubs. In fact, Qatar has helped evacuate about 40,000 Afghans. And now in Kabul, the race is on. There are only a few days left.
At Kabul airport this morning, these may be among the last Afghans getting out. The United States and partners from around the world are scrambling to take out thousands more Afghans by Tuesday. But soon the foreign troops will have to be evacuating themselves too. So the window is closing for Afghans to get on flights. And not everyone will make it. Last night, I spoke to Zabiullah Mujahid, the Taliban spokesman and a senior official. He arrived with an armed entourage. He's been doing interviews by phone in hiding for years. This is one of his first ever one-on-one, face-to-face interviews.
The United States is evacuating, and it is taking out Americans who worked with U.S. forces. But not everyone is going to be able to make it out. Will you let those people leave in the future? Can you guarantee their safety?
We don't want our countrymen to go to America. Whatever they have done in the past, we have given them amnesty. We need young, educated professionals for our nation. But if they want to leave, it's their choice.
What would you say to women, Afghan women, who are terrified?
They are our sisters. We must show them respect. They should not be frightened. The Taliban are humans and from this country. They have fought for their country. Women should be proud of us, not scared.
There are already reports of Taliban fighters taking young women, unmarried women, as brides, forced brides. There have been reports of people going into homes.
This is propaganda from the old regime. We have no evidence of a single case.
This war started when Osama bin Laden, as a guest of the Taliban, organized 9/11 attacks. Can you guarantee that this country will never again be a base for terrorism?
When Osama bin Laden became an issue for the Americans, he was in Afghanistan. Although there was no proof he was involved, now we have given promises that Afghan soil won't be used against anyone.
You still don't think that Osama bin Laden carried out 9/11?
There is no evidence. Even after 20 years of war, we have no proof he was involved.
So it sounds like, even now, after all of this, you're accepting no responsibility.
There was no justification for this war. It was excuse for war.
How are you feeling right now, after 20 years, and the Americans are leaving?
The withdrawal is almost finished. These are our happiest moments.
After the interview, we made our way to the airport. Inside the airport, the evacuations are moving along, but the mood is somber. These are Afghans who don't take the Taliban at their word, escaping while they still can.
Getting out of Kabul is only the first step in this process. Then they come to countries like Qatar or Germany, where they are processed. That can be extremely lengthy. State Department officials here say they are seeing many people arrive. Not a lot of correct documentation.
Solid. Richard, thank you. This morning, a surprising problem for one of the world's most iconic places to hike. The Appalachian Trail, now too popular.
Yeah, it runs from Georgia to Maine, and it offers these breathtaking views. And during the pandemic, throngs of people are rushing to enjoy them. But not every visitor seems to abide by the motto, leave no trace, prompting worries about the future of thousands of miles of land.
Our guy Sam Brock strapped on those hiking boots. He hit the Appalachian Trail in northern Georgia for us. Sam, good morning.
Good morning, guys. You can't see it. I actually am wearing my Timberlands right here. I'll show you in a second. The great outdoors has never had greater appeal. I'm standing on a section of the Appalachian Trail right now. If you walk with me, we're near Woody Gap in Georgia. You'll see why so many people want to get outside during the pandemic. This is a vision of paradise, but a bump, guys, right now, and day hikers and casual campers has started to wear down this natural wonder. Plunged in the middle of perfect serenity, the Appalachian Trail's rolling hills and lush layers of foliage, you'll find a phenomenon.
We're outdoor people anyway, but we're now seeking out only outdoor activities.
Parking lots full of people and a crush of visitors. From Georgia,
it used to be kind of my go-to spot, park up there, go hiking. Now, half of Atlanta's parked up there.
To Maine and the Mid-Atlantic. Chris Brunton and his team manage a 32-mile stretch from famed Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, south to Virginia.
Trash pickup is a problem these days that I have never seen in the 30 years that I've been working on this trail. I found sleeping bags, tents, tarps, cooking gear, food in packets.
It's a footprint that's widening, figuratively and literally, with some pathways doubling in size.
This is where you hit the road.
Exactly. In Maine, their ultimate destination is about 2,000 miles that way.
Just a couple little jumps and a skip.
Exactly. A few weeks.
All right, so you want to get out there?
Let's go.
For perspective, we enlisted an expert. Don Converse and the Georgia Appalachian Trail Club have been caring for the state's 78 miles for decades.
This is, 4 feet or so in some places, highly eroded.
He says it's not the few hundred people who hike the whole 2,000-mile stretch or through hikers that are eroding the land, but the countless casual daygoers.
It's getting loved to death, just like the national parks are, and thus the need for constant maintenance. It's difficult to sustain the pristine nature of it.
A similar congestion crisis has already gripped the Grand Canyon and Arches National Park in Utah, with nature serving as a refuge for those coping with COVID.
Nature and just the trail itself is really healing.
Melissa Rand works in healthcare and is 1,300 miles into her journey alone, although she's hardly lacked for company.
As a solo female hiker, it is kind of scary, but I've never been alone because there's so many people hiking the trail.
Caleb Bess cultivated a whole following on social media from his own amazing Appalachian trek. He had this to say about the explosion of fellow hikers.
Make sure you follow the leave no trace guideline. Just be a good human about it.
We're back now with more on the coronavirus and a new alarm that is being sounded by doctors and other health officials as well.
Hospitals are now facing a troubling surge in pregnant women becoming severely ill. NBC's Stephanie Goss joins us with more. Steph, good morning.
Hey, guys, good morning. This is scary. You know, the issue is particularly worrisome right now in the South, where doctors tell NBC News they have never seen this many pregnant women in their ICUs. It's an alarming trend, putting expectant parents on notice. NBC News spoke to doctors in several states who reported a spike in COVID hospitalizations among pregnant women, seeing double and in some cases triple the number. Nearly all of the patients are unvaccinated.
Last few weeks of your pregnancy is very hard to breathe. Your body's immunity also changes during pregnancy. So combining these two things, it makes it very difficult to deal with a situation like COVID.
Dr. Sunil Kumar leads the ICU at Broward Health Medical Center in Florida. His unit usually sees 4 to 5 pregnant women a year. Now he says they see that many in a week. And although it's unclear if unborn babies can contract COVID in the womb, once they are delivered, babies are often separated from mothers who are too sick to hold them.
How tough is that conversation when you tell a mother who just gave birth that she can't hold her baby because she's too sick with COVID?
It's hard. It's extremely hard.
CDC data shows that 1 in 4 pregnant women have been vaccinated during their pregnancy. It was only this summer that major health organizations and federal agencies issued full-throated recommendations that pregnant women get vaccinated. Previously, just saying it was encouraged because pregnant women didn't take part in the early trials. But now there is data showing the vaccine is safe.
It's very, very clear that it is safe in pregnant women.
The CDC says 131 pregnant women have died of COVID complications, and more than 200 have lost their pregnancies. Haley Richardson was a nurse from Alabama who was pregnant with her second child. She and her unborn daughter passed away last week, less than a month after she tested positive for COVID. Her best friend says Richardson had not gotten vaccinated because of the lack of research at the time regarding the impact on pregnancies. Doctors report pregnant women are more likely to be put on ventilators and other machines to support critical organs like the heart and lungs. And a recent study found pregnant women who get COVID are 40% more likely to deliver prematurely.
Molly, we are out on the plaza today with all these beautiful people, and you are watching Today in 30.
Molly Shannon is one of those folks who has kept us laughing, keeping us in stitches for 7 years with her iconic characters like Mary Catherine Gallagher on Saturday Night Live.
Classic. All right, well, now Molly is keeping the laughs coming in the new season of The Other Two. She plays Pat Dubeck, a single mother of 3 whose young son Chase became an overnight sensation. And in the new season, Pat becomes a daytime talk show host. Check it out.
That's when we found out my husband had cancer.
Oh, no.
We all knew we were going to lose him.
Of course.
But then the cancer went away.
Oh, good.
But then he got into a car accident.
Oh, no.
No, he was fine. Only the bumper was damaged.
That's good.
But then last year, the cancer came back. And he died.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Sheila. And in the future, that car park can just lift right out.
I can see that.
Good stuff. Molly joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Chanel. Good morning, Al. I'm
It's
so happy
great to be able to reach out and touch you.
Isn't it? And being outside, I love it.
Well, congratulations on this show. Talk to me about this new season, your talk show host. That looks like it was fun to do.
It was really fun. Well, I've had experience, being on shows, and
yes.
I didn't really have anybody specific in mind, but it was really fun to shoot it. And my character kind of takes the stage, embracing her life of yes and just saying yes to all her opportunities. So it's really fun character to play.
Pat reminds me in a way of another really positive person who's grabbed the national psyche, and that's Ted Lasso. In that there is a positivity about this. I think we need folks like Pat Dubeck.
You're so right, Al. It's just you're absolutely right, and I think that it's just a time where we're all really appreciating things that we may have taken for granted before, like just being together and, together like this in a studio, you know, outside. And so, yes, you're so right. I try to work on that, too, to have a positive attitude and to think about what's working and to feel grateful. I do try to practice that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all do. On that note, you wrote a book during the pandemic, and you open up about something, a tragedy that happened when you were a girl. Talk about that. I think some people see you now and they think everything's perfect, she's funny, but you kind of go back in this book.
Oh, yes, yes. I'm so excited about the book. In the book, I do talk about my family and my relationship with my father. I'll also talk about Saturday Night Live. But, yes, I'm so excited about it. Yeah, yeah.
And you know, we all had issues during the pandemic. In fact, you, in the middle of filming, had to shut down. You left a suitcase back at your hotel. And this time you had a guest appearance on White Lotus, and that ended up being a pretty sweet deal for you and the family.
Oh, my God. Al, it was fantastic. So we shot, the White Lotus at the Four Seasons Maui, and I got to bring my kids, Stella and Nolan, and we lived there for a month, and we shot in a COVID bubble.
Wow.
But it was a dream job for a mom. We would have sunset swims, or I'd be shooting a scene down in the lobby of the restaurant, and my kids would walk by after coming back from snorkeling, and they'd be like,
awesome.
Hi, Molly. Hi, Mike White. And it was a dream, because everything was right there.
Yeah.
We had the best time.
It's a silver lining, for sure,
it
right?
really was. Yeah, because the kids were able to be with me because they were in remote school. So they just did like Hawaii school.
We can relate. Okay, so before you leave us this morning, all morning long, we've been teasing a special connection between you and our friend, Mr. Al Roker. Would you guys like to share with the class this special connection they have?
Well, do you want to go first, Al?
Well, I earlier in my career, I worked in Cleveland at WKYC, lived in Shaker Heights, and there was a pool at Thornton Park.
Yeah.
And Molly was there at the time, much, much younger than me.
No, not. I worked in the women's bathhouse where I would take their clothes when they went swimming.
Oh.
And so, you know, I would come out and see Al swimming laps.
Wait,
right?
how funny is that? How long ago was that?
Oh, gosh, well, it was 1978, I think.
Yeah.
I was there from 78 to 83.
43 years ago.
Yeah.
And look at you now.
Look at us.
Who would have thought?
I love this.
Who would have
6
thought?
degrees of Molly.
I love that. Molly, you are such a delight. Thank you so much.
Chanel.
This morning, congratulations on everything. Season 2.
So nice of you with you
Absolutely.
guys.
Of the other 2 is now streaming on HBO Max.
As we know, time waits for no one. Well, Gina Hamady, a mom of 2, wanted to find out a way to slow it all down. So here's what she did. She set out on a year of gratitude with a simple daily gesture to show her love and appreciation to her neighbors, to her friends, and to her family.
Gina chronicled her journey in the book. I want to thank you. And we caught up with Gina to chat about how a simple expression of gratitude could have such a powerful impact. Take a look.
Dear Miss Nikki, dear Grace.
Dear Dr. Fox, I cannot overstate how grateful I am for your years of mentoring me.
Being the best travel buddy and friend imaginable.
I'm so grateful that you're the one who delivered my baby Charlie.
I can't wait till the next time we get to hang.
And I'm forever grateful for our continued friendship.
We love you and would love to stay in touch. XO, love you both. G.
Love, Gina.
Love, Gina.
To see something addressed to me in a familiar handwriting was a thrill. It was so touching.
Reading those words means something to me.
There was something about this card that just felt so personalized.
It just makes the job that much more wonderful.
It sort of carries you through your day, that warmth in your heart that someone's thinking about you. It was something that I didn't even realize that I actually really needed.
It actually inspired me to get my own thank you cards made and hopefully continuing the tradition and pay it forward.
Gina inspired me to get back to the good old paper and pen. It just kind of proves that we can lead a life of gratitude. Slow down for a second and reconnect with those that you love.
Gina, hi. We're so happy you're here. And I have to tell you, I didn't even tell this to Hoda, but our mutual friend, Emma Straub, who's an author I admire so much, was the one that sent me your book with a little thank you note. So you are inspiring people. And I wonder, in a year that has felt difficult, what has it been like to share your love with people who have played huge parts in your life, like your husband, and those that you just barely know? What has it felt like to share that love?
Well, the year I sent these 365 notes was before the pandemic, right? So I think that training of, sitting with your gratitude and then expressing it to the people responsible really helped make that year more bearable and gave me more joy and connection in that year, which I'm so grateful for.
Yeah, you need it.
Yeah.
It's so funny because sometimes when you write a thank you note to someone, no one thanks you for your thank you note. Basically, you write a beautiful note, you put your heart on a piece of paper and you put a stamp on it and mail it away. What did you receive from sending those notes out?
So first of all, at the beginning of the year, when I thought of this concept, I wrote a little note to myself that said, give everything, expect nothing. And I truly treated these as gifts without any expectation of what would come back. And that was enormously helpful. But everything that did come back was so wonderful. I heard a lot of, this made my day. I heard a lot of, I'm going through a tough time right now, and this helped. And, how wonderful to be able to brighten somebody's day on a day that maybe they needed it, and I never would have known that otherwise.
I read, too, that you wrote your husband a letter every single day in the month of December. Did that strengthen your relationship? And how did you, that's...
What did you have to say?
A lot of days.
Okay, so every month of this year, I turned to a different category, and December was Jake, was my husband. And so every day of the month, I wrote him a thank you note for something, generally mundane. Maybe thank you for the beautiful music you play in our house every day. I don't even think about the music in our house. And it sort of introduced gratitude in these very small but lovely ways that, I think are important in a marriage. And he was giving me back, an increased amount of gratitude in his own way. And I think it's small, but it's helpful.
By the way, the small things really are the things. We were just talking about how when Joel leaves the room, he closes the door very softly. It's a small thing, but he does it every day to make sure he's not waking anybody up. I'm looking at beautiful pictures of your children. What lessons you must be teaching them, huh?
So I had a chapter about this very thing because it was incredible. You think about children as little sponges, and they are. That's why it's easier for them to learn a language when they're young. They're also very receptive to something like this. I actually, in this chapter, I spoke to this author of a book called Making Grateful Kids, and he and I were speaking about this really important connection that kids make at that age, and I was helping my kids make it, which is there are people behind the stuff you love. Right. And so talking about gratitude all year long and pulling my sons into the project, which I did, like in my books month, my son Henry wrote to 11 of his favorite authors, and some of them wrote back, which was amazing. But it just helped them make that connection that's hard as a kid. Otherwise it's just, I love these books, but it's a big difference to say, I love these books and there was somebody who created them for me. Maybe I should show them a little gratitude.
To thank them for their work. To check out I Want to Thank You, head to today.com/shop.
You're going to want to stick around for another big morning tomorrow on Today.
Huge. In fact, we're going to have live music on our plaza from none other than J Balvin himself, little wiggly pony. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.